Welcome back, Dual Coast fans. We are
Yeah.
live this morning with very special guests. Inspirational and motivational episode joined by Michael Laughlin this morning. Michael, thank you so
Give
much.
it up.
Having me, guys. Appreciate it.
As always, we got Russ on the pod. Russ on the East Coast this morning.
I know. It's like, sleep. Normally I'm up at 4:45 for this. Although being on the East Coast, I haven't slept great. So operating today on 5 hours, which is, we talked about before we got on and got live, we were talking about 3 hours. But 5-6 hours is kind of typical. But anyway, Michael, great to have you on with us on Dual Coast and all of our listeners. So yeah, welcome. I'll get a little intro, but
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This is exciting. I love it.
yeah.
Thank you for being here.
So one thing about Michael, the stash that's on his face isn't normal, but it's great. I told him that he could be, when he goes gray, grow out the hair, and be the new Hulk Hogan. You gotta love that stash, man. That's great. But your wife is not so much.
Yeah, this is just it's awareness for mental health in general, whether it be cancers, mental health is huge, right?
Absolutely.
Suicide awareness, all the stuff that men, go through but don't talk about. So that's what this is an awareness month for us.
Yeah.
Love it, man. Great job. As Dan mentioned, Michael is a keynote speaker. He has limb loss fitness, which we're going to get into, and we're going to talk about that. He is a firefighter in Canada, but he was recently promoted to fire captain. So congratulations on that.
Thank
and
you.
I'd love to hear all about your story. Dana Grant was the one who introduced us together, a good friend of mine, just actually this year. So our friendship is just continuing to thrive and grow. And so I'm glad that she introduced us, and thank you for accepting our invitation to come on to Dual Coast and to share a little bit about your story and your life and what you've gone through. And I'm telling you, you guys just wait, because this is gripping, this is moving, what he has gone through in his life. So I'm going to open it up to you right now, Michael, to tell us a little bit about your back history of kind of how you got to where you are and a little bit of your story of overcoming.
Sure. So grew up in a little farm community, Joyceville, just outside of Kingston, Ontario, Canada. Growing up on a farm, you're doing chores, throwing hay. I was always in really good shape, and I got into sports early and played at the top level of every sport I played. So I played fastball, hockey. In high school, it was rugby and football. Won 4 championships in rugby, 4 in football. Won a national championship. I was the captain of a national championship fastball team down in St. Scotia, which was a big, a gold medal for Canada is a huge thing, right?
That's awesome.
And so was really embedded in sports. I was drafted to the OHL, which is another big accomplishment. So played a lot of hockey, drafted the OHL from the Kingston Frontenacs. Didn't stick with them, but went back to Tier 2 Junior A, which is the farm club, and was the captain of that team. And, my claim to fame is I'm the all-time penalty minutes leader, and by a lot. And hockey's changed since I played, so no one's ever going to touch that record.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's my claim to fame.
You spent a lot of time on the bench, just the wrong bench.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much taking bad penalties. I was a fighter, and I dropped the gloves almost every game. And I'm a lefty, and I was pretty good at it. So
Southpaw, boom.
So that's what I was known for. So, but yeah, coming out of high school, I wanted to be an NHL hockey player. That was my goal. I played hockey and grew up with 3 guys that made the NHL, and playing with them, watching them proceed through their hockey career, I knew I was not going to be in the NHL. You just know. There's a point where you're like, they are just so much better, and their trajectory is just, I'm never going to touch that.
Was one of them named Wayne?
Yeah. I'm not that old, but
that guy's last name,
yeah, starts with a G.
Kingston's a hotbed for NHL hockey players. We've produced a ton of them. Anyways, so I decided, what am I going to do with my life? What do I want to do? And right away, firefighting was right on the top of the list. And the reason why is I find firefighting is very closely related to hockey. So when you're in the firehouse and you're hanging out with the guys and girls and you're doing your thing, and you're doing pranks and you're making dinner together and all this stuff, it's like being in the dressing room with, of a hockey team, where it's like that camaraderie and the you goofing around and being, being buddies and all that stuff. And then when you go out on the ice or you go to a fire call, it's all business. And it's like a switch, right? A switch hits and you're like, let's play. We're playing for each other. We're going hard. As much, anything I can do for my team. It's the same when you're firefighting, right? As soon as that tone goes, you're on the truck. It's a team sport, right? And we're going to go solve whatever problems ahead of us, no matter what. So it's so closely related. And I love that. I love that idea. And so my last term of high school, I took a co-op with the local fire department and got a real taste of what it was all about. And so as soon as I graduated, I became a volunteer firefighter. I started working part-time at the station. And then as soon as a dispatch job came up, I went into dispatch at the fire department. And it was a full-time gig and was volunteering as well. And then as soon as they hired for full-time in 2023, I became a full-time firefighter. And life was awesome, right? I was accomplishing everything I wanted to do. And so I was a bit of a wild one too, right? I grew up on a farm driving anything that went fast, right? Snowmobiles, dirt bikes, four-wheelers. We had like field cars. We'd run, like race around and crash, right? So I had a bit of wild side on me. And in 2007, I was out snowmobiling with some buddies and we were driving around all day and night. And we actually came home to my buddy's house and we were going to put it away for the night. And it was me that was like, let's go for one more rip across the lake. One more. And they all said no. Yeah, it's always that one more. So they all said no, but then, I talked one of them into it. And one of the guys like, yeah, let's go. So we go ripping and it was snowing very, very hard. It was snowing like sideways. And if you've ever been out on a lake that's all white in the dark, when it's snowing, you literally can't tell where you are. You have no idea. And so I was following the guy I was with, and he knew the lake like the back of his hand. So I was trying to keep up with him. So we were going fairly fast, and I could see his tail light. But every once in a while, I'd lose his tail light in the snow. It was like a blizzard. Mm-hmm. And so I'd speed up, and I'd see his tail light. I'd be like, okay, there he is. And then I'd lose his tail light, speed up. And so that went on about 5 times, and then I lost his tail light, and I sped up, and I'm trying to find his tail light, and I speed up. And then I'm kind of like, okay, I got to catch up to him. So I just cranked on it. And I was doing, for you guys, probably 90 miles an hour across this lake blind. And the last thing I saw, 10 feet in front of me, I'm driving along and I saw an island. And I let go of the handlebars. And I thought to myself, I'm dead. And then I opened my eyes and sat up. And I'm sitting in the middle of this island. And I look down and my left leg is snapped off at the femur. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm alive, but what am I going to do? I know exactly what's going on. I know my femur's broke. What am I going to do? So what happened is I hit the island. It was like a rock ledge with a tree growing out of it. And I hit that island. My snowmobile burst into a million pieces. The engine and everything broke in half. I bounced off the tree and went 100 feet through the island and threaded the needle through a whole bunch of trees. If I had hit any of those trees, I would have snapped in half. Yeah. And so lucked out, landed in the snow, and that's where I was. So I pull out my cell phone. Back then it was a flip phone, right? Flip the phone open, 911, and my phone dies. So my God. You remember those phones? The battery got cold.
Yeah.
Throw the phone, and I'm like, what am I going to do? So every once in a while, there's a break in the snow. It was snowing hard, but there's a break, and I could see a cottage on the island that I'd hit. And I did kind of an inventory of what I had, and I had a lighter. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to crawl to the cottage. I'm going to light the cottage on fire. The flames will be so high in the air, 100 feet in the air, the fire department will come and find me. So, being a firefighter, right, I have this great plan. So I start crawling. And I remember crawling, and I'm crawling, and I'm pulling. I could feel my leg coming apart at the femur. So I pull my leg, crawl. I was in so much pain, guys, and I was fighting it. And finally, about 5 minutes into the crawling, I laid down and I tried to die. And I just closed my eyes and I said, just die and get it over with. And then I started thinking, I can't do this to my family. I can't do this to my mom. She's going to be hysterical. This will ruin her life. I can't do this. I got to keep going. And so I kept going. And I did about another 5 minutes of dragging my leg across that island. And I tried a second time to die. And I laid down, trying to die. And you'll like this one, Russ. I thought to myself, don't be a pussy. You're supposed to be this big, tough firefighter, hockey fighter, right?
Yes.
What do they think of you if you gave up, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't give up. You're not that person. And I kept crawling. And when I started crawling again, I heard a snowmobile coming back. So the guy had got to the other side, realized I was lost, came looking for me, came across all these parts on the lake, and then he shut his snowmobile off, and we started hollering back and forth until he found me. And I remember him standing over me, white as a ghost. And he's like, what do I do? I said, drag me on the back of your snowmobile and get me to shore because I got to get to the hospital. And he's like, oh. And so he got me on the snowmobile, and I remember every single bump across that lake because my bones were just cracking together like that. And I was squeezing him so hard I don't think he could breathe. And so we got to remember, we were out in like hillbilly land, right? And he's like, I got a truck there waiting. We'll throw you up in the truck and we'll go. I'm like, perfect. So we get to the shore, pulls up beside this truck. It's this jacked up Ford truck with a 6-inch lift. And he's trying to push me up into this truck. And my legs coming apart. I'm like, dude, this is not going to work, right? You can't lift me, right? So, he took off actually and went and got a car and comes back and actually phoned my girlfriend at the time and got her to come with the car and meet us. And I jump in, they get me in the car. She's driving me in. We get to emerge. She runs in, comes out with one nurse. The nurse opens the door, looks at me and goes, oh no. Runs back in, comes out with a gurney. I'm like, oh, do I look that bad? Right? At that point, I'm like, maybe I look worse than I do, right? Yeah. I don't know. And so they get me on the gurney, they take me in. It's like bees buzzing around me. They're cutting all the clothes off me. And I'm going into surgery. And I remember going into surgery, this is a funny little story. And I'm laying there by myself with one of those like gowns on. And I'm hopped up on painkillers at this point. And this little nurse comes in the room and she comes in, she goes, I'm going to put your catheter in. Well, 26-year-old me doesn't know what a catheter is, right? And I'm like, sure, whatever, right? So she pulls the gown back, grabs me, and goes to put it in, and I two-hand shove her, right? Like, get away from me. She falls back on the floor, the poor old girl, right? But she gets up and she just smiles at me and winks and leaves. I'm like, you're freaking right. You're not going to do that, right? And
I'm a southpaw.
Yeah, exactly, right? Well, she walks back in with 4 great big porter guys. They pin me down. They pin me down while I scream, and she's putting in the so she knew when I pushed her that she was going to win. It just was a matter of time.
Yeah.
Right? So anyways, I go into surgery, and I wake up the next morning. And I remember waking up, and I look down, and my leg that I broke is in this massive cast. And I kind of try to move, and I realize there's a great big cast on my arm all the way up to my shoulder. And I'm like, what? And the doctor comes in, and I know the leg thing. I remember the leg thing, but like, what's going on with my arm? I used my arm to pull myself. I was dragging myself. I did everything with my arm. What is this for? And he's like, well, he goes, you got a compound fracture. Your ulna was sticking out through your skin the entire time. And you just didn't notice because you were so focused on your leg. And that's just crazy what the human body can do, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the adrenaline and everything, I just didn't even notice. And I think that's what the nurse, when she came out to the car, she saw that and was like, oh, right, and took off. And I didn't even realize it. And so I had this big cast. So I have a titanium plate in my arm from my elbow to my wrist. I now have a titanium rod for a femur. I have a titanium kneecap and 33 pins and screws holding my left leg together. And they put me all back together. And so that was kind of the first time I'd ever been hurt in my life, besides breaking some knuckles on people's foreheads. I never broke anything. Believe it or not, I never broke anything. Being a crazy kid, farmer kid, I was just always, pretty good bones. Must have drank a lot of milk. So, this is the first time I had a setback. So they came in, and I remember when they got the cast off, and my first day of physio, and the lady comes in. She's like, "Okay, I want you to sit up and stand up." I'm like, okay. And so I did that. And then she's like, great. She lays me back down. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm running today. What do you do? Right? Like, I'm not used to this. I gotta go. I gotta get back. And she's like, no. It's one step at a time. So day 2, it's 2 steps. Day 3, it's 4 steps, and doubling that. And it just takes time. Right. And so I followed the rules to a T. I followed my, workout schedule, and thought maybe not to a T. So if they said, do 10 pull-ups or 10 push-ups, I would do like 1,000, right? I'd be doing them all day. I'm like, getting back, I'm going. So I was back to full duty as a firefighter 8 months later.
Wow.
So I pushed it pretty hard, and believe it or not, like, they put me back together perfectly. My leg's not shorter. There's nothing wrong with it. And as you'll find out later, this is now my good leg that is put together with titanium.
Wow.
And so that was like my first big setback in life. While I was in the gym getting ready to go back to work from that accident, I met a girl, and I went to high school with her actually, but we were just friends in high school, and we hit it off, and fast moved in together. Life was great, right? We lived on Dog Lake, a beautiful lake in north of Kingston. I'm a firefighter. She's a yoga teacher. We opened a yoga studio together called Life Yoga on the east side, so owned a yoga studio. She was a very well-known yoga teacher, but she had a past. She had been abused, had some stuff happen to her, drug addiction, on the street for a bit. A bunch of stuff happened to her. But when I met her, she was sober and had put that all behind her. And I was like, I've got my stuff too. We can, it was kind of a match made in heaven, right? And life was good. 2011 came along, and I was going out for my birthday. My best friend Jarrett, who I do Untap 60 with, we would celebrate our birthday every year together. His is January 9th, mine is January 10th. So we were going out on January 9th to celebrate. Jen was supposed to come with us. Her name was Jen Leader. And we go out. She's supposed to come. She says, no, at the last minute, I don't want to come. You guys go out and have fun. Sure. Like any other night, right? We go out, we have fun, stayed at a friend's, came home the next morning. I walk in the house. I go to the kitchen, and she's laying on the couch. And I said, hey, what are you doing? It's 10 o'clock. What are you doing on the couch? And I fiddle around in the kitchen for a minute. And I'm like, Josh, she didn't answer me. She was sleeping. And then so I said it again. I said, hey, get up. What are you doing? And I kind of glance over, and something, my spidey senses went. And I started walking over to the couch, and I got about halfway there, and I knew what had happened. She was dead. She had killed herself while I was out that night. I committed suicide. And so, I'd rather crash that snowmobile 100 times than go through this, right? And of course, I not knowing anything about suicide and stuff, as you don't unless you deal with it, I blame myself, right? I should have known. I should have known there was something wrong. I should have stopped it. I couldn't stop it, and she had done that. So I went on a spiral from there. I went down into a deep, dark place, right? Dealing with all that stuff, but I didn't ask for help. And I thought, I'm a man. I'll deal with it myself, as we do, right? Yeah. As mustache is symbolizing. Ask for help, and we don't get the help we need. And so, circling back, when I got into the hospital in 2007, that was before the epidemic of painkillers, and they were handing them out like Tic Tacs. And I came home with a jug of 1,000 Percocets and was popping them every day. And so it wasn't until 2 years later that the doctor was like, we're not supposed to be giving them out like this anymore. You don't need them anymore. We'll stop. And I was like, yep, all right, whatever. And then I found out the hard way how sick you get. And I was addicted. I didn't know, and I didn't ask for this, but I was addicted to painkillers. And so I had to get help to get off the painkillers. And so when Jen died and killed herself, I relapsed and started taking painkillers to numb the pain. And I didn't mask. I didn't want to deal with it, right? Just want to go to sleep. Just wanted to not feel anything. And that's what I did. And so I went, down a deep, dark place. My family saw it happening, wasn't sure what to do. And then, that led to me getting arrested. So I was buying illegal painkillers because I wasn't getting them from my doctor anymore. And I went to a house that was being watched, and I got arrested. And so when I got arrested, I'm like, it's over. Just lost my job. I'm now at definite rock bottom, right? I'm addicted to painkillers. My girlfriend killed herself, and now I'm arrested. Like, I'm just a dirtbag, and that's kind of how I felt. And that's how I felt everyone viewed me. But luckily, I have a amazing family, and I have really close friends that are there for me no matter what. And they said, no, this is not you. It's making me emotional. It's not you. It's circumstances that you're going through, right? And you didn't ask for any of this. So they helped me, and we had kind of an intervention. and started getting back to me, right? So got back off painkillers, started, doing all the right things again and getting my life back. Luckily, when I went to court, the judge saw everything in front of him and he called me up and said, Mr. Laughlin, I see what's happened here. You didn't ask to be addicted to painkillers. You didn't ask your girlfriend to kill herself. I know you needed the painkillers at the time because you were addicted. You're going to get a second chance. One. This is the only one. If I ever see you again, you probably won't be a firefighter anymore. And he threw out all the charges. He said, I know who you are. I know your background, and I'm not going to punish you for that and make you lose your job. So you're right. Like, holy crap! Got someone that believed in me at the right time, and I ran with that. So life was good and got back on track. I wasn't living the perfect life. I would say I was still partying and doing things I probably shouldn't have been doing. So one of them was I always drove motorcycles, drove everything fast, right? As soon as I could get my motorcycle license, I did when I was younger. And so fast forward to 2016, and I'm out for a ride on my motorcycle. And I was living at my buddy's house on North Shore Road, which was about 2 kilometers from where I crashed that snowmobile on that lake. He lived on the lake. And going out for a ride at 4 p.m., still light out, and driving down this windy back road where I deer hunt, by the way, is not far from there. And I'm going around a couple turns, and I come onto a straightaway. I'm driving along, and in the corner of my eye, I see a flash of brown. And boom, I get hit in the side by a deer. And I get into a speed wobble. I'm going back and forth, and I'm trying to hold onto the bike, not go down. And finally, I get control of the bike, and I look up, and there's a 90-degree turn in the road. And I'm like, oh no, and I hadn't slowed down at all. So I'm trying to brake, and I'm trying to turn, and counter steering. My pegs are scraping off the road. I'm turning so hard. I'm gonna make it. And my back wheel just touches the gravel shoulder, and it just shoots out from me. And as I'm going down, I don't know if you've ever heard this, but it happened in the snowmobile accident. It happened this time. Everything goes into slow motion. And so I'm standing still, and I remember thinking, don't hit your head. You're a firefighter. You've been to many motorcycle accidents. The people that hit their head, they don't survive.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and I was driving a Harley. I had just a beanie on. And so I tried to ride it out on my butt. So I got sat up and I tried to ride it out. And I bounced a couple times on the road, and I shot down into the ditch, and I watched my leg hit a rock and snap right off at the knee. And then I stopped, and the bike came in behind me, hit the rock, and landed right on top of me. And I'm like,
jeez,
what F is going on, right? Like I just did it again. I just killed myself again. This is the second time, and I'm not going to make this one, right? And I'm like, but right away I go into survival mode. I'm like, no, you can do this. You're a firefighter. You know what to do. And I took the bike, and I flipped the bike off me. And you know how they say the mom gets all this superhuman strength, lifts the car, whatever. That's an adrenaline, right? My adrenaline was just rocking. And I'm a pretty strong guy, but I had an 800-pound Harley on me, and I literally just tossed it off me, which will be more crazy once I tell you the rest of the story. So I tossed it off me. I look down, and my leg is torn off at the knee, and there's a little white ball. Like, what's that white ball? And my foot was torn off, and it was the ball of my ankle ball. I'm like, oh my God, right? Like, that's mine. That's part of me. Like, what do I do? So I'm like, calm down. Pull my belt out, tourniquet my leg with my belt as best I can. You're not going to get a great tourniquet, but I slowed it down enough. And next thing is my phone. Where's my phone? It's in my left thigh pocket. And I remember I was shaking at this point. I'm pulling my phone out, and I get it out, and I go, you might have one chance to get this number, right? Before you pass out, before you die, you got to get this right. And I remember I dialed the 7-digit number to the fire department instead of 911 because they transfer a few times. I want direct access to my people.
Yeah.
And they're like, it comes up on their phone. Hey, Mike, how's it going? I'm like, I'm dying in a ditch, North Shore Road at the end. It's Michael Laughlin. Come save me, right? And she's like, yeah. The girl that took the call, Natalie, they're not equipped to do this stuff. They're not 911 operators. They're fire department operators. But she kept me on the line the entire time. She knew what to do. She actually won an award for that. For her service that day, because she really did keep me going, right? And then, so once I knew they were coming, I put the phone on speaker and I set it down. And I'm like, so what do I do next? What do I do next? And a car had driven by and didn't see me. I was down in the ditch, right? I'm like, I need the next car to stop. I need help, right? So I started grabbing bike parts and throwing up on the road. I undid my helmet. I threw my helmet up on the road, and the next car stopped. And this little old lady gets to the edge of the ditch and looks at me. And I'm like, she's going to look at me and just go the other way, right? Like, this is a gruesome scene. I'm screaming, right? And she doesn't. She makes her way down in the ditch and gets behind me, and she puts her arms around me. And she just says, it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And, dude, I needed that, right? I needed someone there with me. I was alone in that ditch, dying, I thought. And she was a good enough person to come down. We live in an age where people see an accident and they drive around it because they don't want to stop. They got somewhere to be, right?
Right.
Or they walk over top of that person passing on the sidewalk. They literally just walk over top of them and keep going. They don't check on them. That's the age we live in now. And this woman, no, she wasn't one of those people. She came down and I thought, she must be a nurse. She must be someone that can handle this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So my mom actually tracked down this woman after to thank her, and she was a retired teacher. Mm-hmm. And I get emotional because it's just like people don't help people these days, and it's like that woman gave me a second like burst of energy. Like, you're gonna make it. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make it, right? Of course I'm gonna make it. Then I could hear the fire trucks coming, hear the siren coming. I'm like, yes, right? And my boys show up, package me up, and I remember I remember thinking that I was always the person packaging people up, right? Cutting their clothes off, checking them over, strapping them to the board. And all of a sudden I just kind of let go. And I was just like, just fix me, fellas, right? And got in the ambulance. The chief of that area jumped in the ambulance with me, rode all the way in, Chief Cheeseborough. And I get to the hospital, emerge. It was like a 25-minute ride in. And you're like, this part too is a bit crazy, but they're pumping you full of painkillers. And it's not doing anything. And he's like, I've given you as much as I can give you, and it's not doing anything. I'm like, dude, I've been here before, right? He's like, I couldn't believe, like, I kept giving them to you, it wasn't working. I'm like, yeah, I got the tolerance, right? So we get in the hospital, and I remember the ambulance backs up, the doors open, and there's 2 lines of firefighter personnel waiting for me there. So while I was screaming for those 17 minutes in the ditch, they were all listening to me on the phone. It was on speaker in the dispatch, and the entire headquarters had come in listening. As soon as they left, they all got in their cars and drove to emerge, and they came down to support me. Talk about a brotherhood, a sisterhood, right?
That's right.
It's like, wow, like, I get emotional thinking about it, because it's like, they're there for you no matter what, right? And so they wheel me through the line of firefighter personnel, and at the end is the fire chief Sean Armstrong, and he leans over and he says, Mike, no matter what happens today, you still have a job at KFR. And for me, I was a 36-year-old single guy. I lived for the fire department. That's the only thing. That's my identity. That's what I do. Yeah. I just said, I'm in my head, I'm like, that's over, dude. You got your legs ripped off. Like, you're never gonna do anything again, right? And so when he said that, it made me feel at ease a little bit. I was like, okay, no matter what, I'll be doing something with KFR. It doesn't matter, maybe I won't be a firefighter, but I'll be doing something. So they wheel me in, and then I remember bees buzzing in a hive again. They're all around you, tubes hooking up, and into surgery I go. And actually, before that, they had given me some more hive-powered pain, like fentanyl and stuff like that. And it still wasn't doing anything for me. And I remember the doctor leaning over, and he's like, Mike, I understand what's going on here. With painkillers, he goes, I'm going to have to put you in a coma. And I remember begging him. I was like, because at this point, it's like over 2 hours of feeling my leg ripped off and feeling all the other injuries I have. And I'm like, please put me in a coma. Please. I remember begging him. He's like, okay. So into a coma I go. So I was in a coma for 8 days. And I had 7 surgeries when I was in a coma. Wow. And then I remember waking up, and I was sleeping, and I opened my eyes, and my mom's over top of me, and she's like, honey, you're gonna be okay, you're gonna be okay, don't move though. And I realized that there's a great big collar on my neck, and I'm strapped to the bed, And I kind of like was able to look down a little bit, and I'm like, my leg's reattached. It's in this big halo. And so they reattached my leg. And I'm like, Mom, and she's like, you can't move. You broke your neck in 2 spots and you broke your back in 3 spots. And I'm like, what? Right? I threw that motorcycle off me. I was throwing stuff up out of the ditch. I was moving around. How is that possible? You know, you got lucky. It didn't touch the cord. Yeah. You just broke 3 vertebrae in your back and you fractured 2 vertebrae in your neck. So I wore this neck brace for 4 months, right? This really awesome neck brace. And they went in and they put 2 12-inch rods in my back and fused the 3 spine. And there's a side story on those too. But yeah, I had a bunch of broken ribs, which I never felt because everything else hurt way more than that. But my leg was reattached, and I was like, okay, well, maybe it's going to work. And so 2 or 3 days went by, and they were checking on this leg that they reattached, and there was never any blood flow in it. It was turning gray, and I was getting really sick. Mm-hmm. And so finally, 3 or 4 days later, the doctor comes in, and I know what's going on, but until you hear it for real the first time, it's not real, right? So he comes in, he sits down, he's like, Mike, we're losing the battle. He goes, we're going to have to amputate a leg. And that's when it became real. I'm like, okay. And I kind of knew, I already knew, but until you hear it, they're going to do it. And so I broke down. My family, you know, we all cried together for a bit. And then finally, like an hour into that, I'm like, screw this. I go, Dad, grab that iPad right there. And so I have my iPad there, and he's like, okay. I go, look up what the best prosthetic leg in the world is. And he's like, okay. So does that, and up pops this Green Beret operator, Nick Laverty. And he's standing there, he's this big jack guy with a prosthetic leg. I'm like, that's the one. I want that leg right there. And I was like, yeah, okay, right? You're not even, it's not even off yet. You're already moving ahead. And so I go into surgery, and they cut my leg off first below the knee. Then they realized the knee was no good. They were never going to make this knee work. And then I got amputated above knee. And so it's gone, and I'm starting my new life here. So I get moved to a rehabilitation hospital where everything kind of heals up, and then you get your leg, your stump, you get starting to set for a prosthetic leg. And you know, kind of like, what am I going to do with my life now? What's going to happen? So as I'm laying there and I start getting stronger, start working out a bit and start feeling good, I get my neck brace off eventually, and you know, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to do this. And so I get a prosthetic leg, and I start working out, and I start getting big in the gym and start getting in shape. And I'm like, okay. And I made an appointment with the chief. I meet with you, buddy. And so we meet. I'm like, Chief, what do I got to do to come back to work? And he's like, Mike, it's like literally never been done before in our country, and I don't know if it's ever been done in the world. I can't find anybody that's done it. He goes, but I can't see any reason if you can't pass the test you did to get on the fire department, then you're just like everybody else, right? You keep your job. I'm like, deal, it's on, right? So started training. All my coworkers went to the training grounds with me and worked with me, practiced. The time for the test, we go to the training ground, and it's like, you screw up once and you're failing, right? And so did the test and passed with flying colors, even had some better times than two-legged people on a couple of the events. And became Canada's first, and I'm still the only full-time above knee amputated full-time firefighter. So it was a big feat. I had 15 seconds of fame there for a minute, and then you just become one of the guys again, like we talked about earlier. And they just think of you as a normal, you're a normal firefighter. You do everything. We don't think of you as an amputee. And so that was a big deal. Yeah. And as I was doing that, there was a guy in the U.S. that had a motorcycle accident, lost his leg in the same spot, and he had contacted me and said, like, what are you doing to get back on, and whatever. And I'm like, we shared some stuff together. His name's Brandon Anderson, Fisher's Fire Department. And so he actually got back to work as a full-time firefighter 2 months before me. And so he became the first in North America, that he knows in the U.S. But the only reason, that he got on before me is he only lost his leg. I broke my back. Guys. Don't kid yourself. He's got nothing. Okay. Yeah. Him and I joke about it. He came down and visited me right away. And he's a good buddy of mine, and he's a fire captain. He does this thing. Actually, he just got promoted to district chief, I believe. He's one of the chiefs now. So
Wow.
that guy's thriving.
Two incredible stories. My goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
But here's the best part. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Bring it.
Yeah.
so I'm in St. Mary's Rehabilitation Hospital. Okay. And I lived there for a month. And so I got my room and I do my physio every day. And then I've got free time to do whatever, right? So every day I go and I wheel around and talk to people and whatever. And the one day I'm like, I'm gonna go wheel around, look for some hot nurses. 36-year-old single guy, right? But you gotta remember, I got this big neck brace on. A teeny little run at that point. I was 150 pounds. I carry myself now at like 200, 210, right? I got no shirt on. I've got cut off Joe Boxer jogging pants on, no mat, right? And I look like Joe Dirt in a wheelchair. Okay? I have a beard, long hair, greased back, right? And I'm wheeling around, and I think like my brain still says I'm like Laughlin, the other guy, right? But I'm this dirtbag, right? So I'm wheeling around and looking for hot nurses, and I'm going around and I go by this one room, and there's a nurse bent over a patient, and I jam the brakes on the chair, and I stop. I'm like, that's the nicest butt I've ever seen. And then when I jam the brakes,
Hadn't even seen her face.
not even, yeah. And then she turns around, and I'm like, oh boy, it's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, right? And I'm like in shock. And usually I'm pretty good with the words with girls and stuff, right? And I was like, da. Right? So I really, and coincidentally, the patient, I knew the family of the patient. So go in, and when I did see her, she was talking to the patient. This patient was, believe it or not, guys, I was in palliative of care. I didn't even know what part of the hospital I was in. And she was talking to the patient. The patient was not responding. She was dying, and she was never going to talk again. But this nurse was talking to her like a human being, and like, you're pretty and you have a nice day, like just being like an angel. Like someone that these people that do that stuff is they're just incredible people. And so like, not only is she the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, but she's like the nice, like, look at this, right? She's talking to this lady that doesn't hear her, but she's treating her like a human. And so we met, and the whole time I'm just like, I want to marry this person, right? And so I leave the room. I remember getting her name, and I leave the room, and I keep saying it to myself on the way back so I didn't forget. Get to my room, and I went on Facebook, and I creeped her and Facebooked her, right? So I was just like, nice to meet you. And then I never heard back. At the end of her shift, she must have got home, and she was like, nice to meet you. And that was it. So some time goes by, and I get my leg, and I get, like I said, start training to get back to the fire department. And she had posted something on Facebook, and I commented on it. And then I was like, screw it. And I asked her out, and she said yes. And so I was like, okay, she probably just feels bad for me. Whatever. So we go for coffee. We go for a walk, and we walk back to the cars. And I did the worst thing you can do on a date. The worst. I look her in the eyes and I say, I want to marry you and have children. And she gets in her car and takes off. and ghosts me. 2 months. I'm like, I totally screwed that up. I maybe was a little aggressive, but right. But it's how I felt, and I'd never felt like that before. I was a player before that, right? 36 years old. I was never settling down. I was one of those guys.
Right.
For the first time in my life, I was like, I want to be this person. I want to settle down.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So this girl's waking up thinking, why did that guy say that to me? There might be more here. I feel like, why am I even thinking about him? And she says, like, she kept waking up thinking about this one-legged guy that had said that he wants to get married, have children. And so she eventually messaged me back and said, like, I'll give you another chance, but pump the brakes, bud, right? And so we go on a date. Anyways, the rest is history. We got married in 2018. We have a 5-year-old boy, Lincoln. I have a 15-year-old stepdaughter, Kiana. Kiana has Down syndrome, and she is literally the life of every room she walks into. And at the time when we got together, she was 6 years old. And like, I needed that. I needed a purpose. I needed responsibility. I needed to change my life. And it wasn't without, a couple bumps in the road. So when we started dating, I was also, still talking to other girls and stuff. I was still being that guy I was before. And Angela, my wife, sat me down and she said, listen, today you're going to make a decision. You're either going to be with me and only me. You'll never touch a drug the rest of your life. Or you can go and do the stuff you did to, all that stuff that led to all these bad things that's happened in your life, or you can change today. And I was like, I'm changing today. And that day forward, I've only been with my wife. I'm a family guy. I actually am sober for 9 years now, no drugs.
Wonderful.
Wow.
And I'm sober for over 2 years off alcohol. Never had an alcohol problem, but decided I didn't need it. It didn't serve me any purpose, so I stopped. And in my job, it's rampant, right? People drink. They don't deal with anything properly. It was a big thing for me to do that and to be able to still hang out with my buddies and stuff. But the world's changing. There's lots of non-alcohol beer and stuff like that, so you can do your thing. But literally, the best thing that ever happened, right? It was I asked her out when I was at my rock bottom, and I took a shot. I took a chance, and I tell everyone that don't ever miss an opportunity. If you think, oh no, I better not, I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to go for that job because I'm not smart enough. Take a chance. It could change your life, and it changed mine. And that's what I go around is so Untap 60. My best friend Jarrett, who was there that night when Jen died, and I started that, and that's my keynote speaking, public speaking. And Untap 60 is, I'll just explain that quickly. They say, and I believe it, that when I was down in that ditch and I wanted to lay down and die, and I'll tell you I did, the entire time, I was every bit of my human being to stay conscious and keep fighting. It was a constant struggle because I wanted to lay down. I just want to quit. And that's a big deal. It's like they say when you're at that point, you're only 40%, spent. You've got 60% still to give. Yep. And so that soldier that gets shot out in the field and lays down and he's wounded and he's just like, I'm going to die. Or he starts crawling. And a lot of time they do. They tap into that 60%. And it's like anything in life. When you're ready to give up, it doesn't matter how big or how small. When you're ready to give up, you have 60% more. You've only spent 40%. Dip into that 60%, and that's where the success comes. That's where all these big feats in life. It's those people that can reach further and push harder, right? And so that's where Untap 60 came from. We really believe in that.
Wow,
that is a unbelievable story.
So. So here's my wrap up is stay off snowmobiles driving 90 miles an hour in snow and sleet.
One.
Watch out for deer on the motorcycle. Keep it on 2 wheels. Not all good butts lead to a great face.
But this one did.
But that one did. Oh man. Wow. What unbelievable, man.
Unbelievable.
And
intertwined in all that, I obviously suffered from PTSD, depression, and all the things that sometimes derail people. So like not only 2 major, catastrophic accidents, the suicide of Jen, but I also had PTSD, depression to fight as well. So it's almost been like a constant fight.
Yeah.
But I don't like to lose. I'll never stay down. And that's like for everybody's got to know that you can win. It's all here. You just got to keep. And so all those things I went through, it's all because I just didn't give up and never give up. That's my logo and model. It's just never, ever give up. Don't give in.
Good. That's good. It reminds me, we interviewed Karina Reed, who you obviously don't know, but she's a personal trainer where I live. And I did Impact Santa Cruz today, which is a summit back in May. Dan flew out. We did a live podcast on the stage with Karina Reed. Karina was basically from birth all the way till now, battling, overcoming mental challenges, mental hurdles. And this reminds me, what you just stated reminds me of her and the ability to overcome. I did a post yesterday of Marshawn Nealon, who played for the Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys, that just took his life last week. And very, very sad situation. He was an elite star, played at the NFL level. The thing about it is that it's not because he played at that level that really got me, but his story ended up in a porta potty taking his own life, dying out on the bottom of a porta potty. And people all over the world are challenged with mental hurdles every day. And I think your story of never giving up is key to people. And there's a lot more to it. We can't just say, don't give up. But yes, we got to start somewhere, you know? And so your story of overcoming drugs, alcohol, all of these injuries, surgeries, losing a leg, and doing what you're doing, speaking to people, being a fire captain, you know, being a great husband, being a great dad, and going from southpaw knocking people out on the ice to saving lives. And you're not just saving lives as a fire captain, but you are saving lives because of your story.
Yep.
Appreciate that. And that's my whole goal in life. There is no better feeling than to have some feedback from someone that they say that, you know, I saw your podcast, I read your story, I read your book, I was at one of your keynotes, and it changed my life. And thank you. And honestly, that is what I chase now, is that adrenaline rush, is just helping people.
Yeah.
Person each time I speak, if I can help one person each time I do a podcast, we're winning, right? We're winning as a
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 100%.
That's well, Dan's in the medical field. He understands about all this medical stuff, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's one of the goals of this podcast, honestly, is just to change one person at a time. And me and Russ talk about that all the time. Of like, if we could just put out each episode and just touch one person with it, or just get the story across to one person and it changes their aspect or changes their outlook, that's the goal here. I mean, we've discussed that several occasions.
Amazing.
Yeah, 100%. Mike, when you were dealing with all the well, maybe even still so, with the PTSD and all the mental health issues and everything like that, what kind of internal systems would you say you developed personally to try to overcome those battles? And how did you battle those things? Did you outlook to the fitness idea? Is that something that helped you kind of progress through life to kind of get rid of that whole mental aspect? What's something you used as an outlet?
Absolutely. Exercise, staying in shape, focusing on that, staying healthy is the big thing. I know, you know, we talked about drinking a little bit there. You know, you're poisoning yourself every time you drink. You're putting something in your body that shouldn't be there. And it's the same with food, eating well. But exercise clears the mind. It's proven. Everyone, you know, everybody that's had PTSD, depression, or whatever, says, you know, when I was going to the gym, I felt great. There's a connection there, right? The other thing I always do, and I'm kind of like bullheaded this way, but I'm like, you know what? There's someone out there worse off than you. Don't feel sorry for yourself. I lost one leg. I've met many people that have lost two legs, lost two legs and an arm, lost all their limbs, and they're thriving. And so don't focus on the one little thing. Focus on the positive, right? I'm still alive, right? Start there, and then work up from there. I really believe that there's always someone out there worse off. Think about them, and then the other thing is huge. It's connection and communication, right? As you know, Dan, like people that are suffering usually aren't communicating or getting help or asking a friend. Like I said, I have great family, great friends. I have friends I can call right this second, be like, I'm struggling, dude, help me, right? Jarrett's my biggest supporter, Jarrett Robertson. He's the guy that if I'm having troubles, I call. It doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m, right? He'll answer and be like, what's up, dude? Let's talk this over, right? So you got to have a good community around you. That's huge, right? Yeah. And I feel sorry for people that don't have family, but they're still able to reach out. I do get people reaching out to me that are like, I don't have family to lean on. I don't have a close friend. Okay, well, you just reached out to me. That's the first step, right?
Yeah. I love that you touched that, because it takes me back in my mind to your story earlier about the brotherhood, right? You know, COVID was in 2020 was really a pivotal point for a lot of people. And I say pivotal, meaning downhill, because a lot of people still have not recovered from COVID, still living in isolation, still living sedentary lives. So when you talk on fitness and your health and nutrition and the way that it makes you feel, you're being more productive, your mind is more clear, I was just talking to some ladies last night around the table at the event that I was at, and I said, think about it. We sit 12, 15 hours a day. If you're working an office job and you got to get up every couple of hours and move your body for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
just to be healthier, right? And to move your body, because your body, it requires that. But the brotherhood is huge for me because of the social connection that you have, the relationships that you have, and people that are out there that struggle with connecting with people. What can you say to encourage them today, Michael?
I say, you know what? All you got to do is reach out to one person, and it starts from there, right?
Yes.
I do agree with you. There's so many people that still do not, my wife is one of them. She's like, I don't want to go into like and she wasn't like that before, right? And so, but I make her go, obviously, but like if she's like that. How many people that don't have someone to push them?
Yes.
Will never come out of isolation. So they are on social media though, because I know everyone is. If you see people like us, right, the three of us, reach out. We'll point you in the right direction. I might not be able to, but I'll point you in the right direction. So you got to be willing to reach out. You got to be willing to take that first step, and I promise you, it'll be the biggest step in your life.
That's right.
100%.
That's awesome.
Michael, we'll probably close out with this one, but we have a saying on the podcast that we kind of close every show out with, and I think it's very fitting here, and I think you could weigh in on this, is that we usually say wellness is not about perfection, it's about progress. What would you say that statement means to you?
It means we're never done. Our story is never done. We're always working on it, right? I'd say, like, look at my story. I could have quit so many times, but that little bit of progress I just kept making, it got me to where I am today. If I had given up, right, I wouldn't be here. I'll tell you right now, there's so many spots where I was like, I can't go any further. I don't have it in me. And so, perfection will never be reached, guys, but progress is an everyday thing. And I'm making it right now with you guys, right? Everything we do is progress.
Absolutely. When you're talking about limb loss fitness, right? You think about, going through struggling with drugs, alcohol, losing a limb, you got a, rod in your arm, you got rod in your back, it's just like all that you have had to overcome in your life, right? Losing a girlfriend, to suicide. I mean, there's so much in your story that's packed in there to draw some great things, right? For people that are listening today, this is a powerful message, and I love that you're sharing it. I love that you're a keynote speaker. I love that you're an inspiration to people that are out there who have lost a limb, right? Or lost someone, or today who's listening to this show who is struggling with drinking, who's going to the bottle, going to the pill. I mean, you've touched on so many things today that are challenging, but yet you overcame.
Yeah.
And I think you said it well, is that, if you are struggling, reach out. And that is the first step. Reach out to somebody. And I'll say this, and I want you to comment on it. A buddy of mine, Jared Sebesta, asked me the other day, about a month ago, we were on a phone call, and he said, how you doing? Very, very thing that we always do. How you doing? And I'm like, hey, things are going great. He goes, wait a minute. No. How are you doing? I want to know what is going on, and I go back to Marshawn Nealon. Did anybody ask him the hard question?
Yep.
People that are in their lives today, people that are well, are we asking the right questions to people,
I think we all have that spidey sense when we see someone or meet someone. We know something's going on, but we don't want, how's it going? Oh, it's good. When you know it's not good, that's when you got to dig in, right? Like,
yes.
Your buddy did it to you. He's like, no. What going on? Because we all say, how you doing? Oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right? People don't want to know, how you doing? Oh, terrible. I'm depressed. They don't want, right? But because they just won't do it. But when we, as a friend, as a supporter of someone, if you're talking to them and you feel something's there, dig in a little harder and find out, because they need to talk. You just got to get them started. Most of the time when you get people started, and I do another thing that you guys probably haven't heard of, but I do locker talk. It's a talk for men. It's on Zoom, and it's for the Kingston area guy. It's for anybody, but a lot of Kingston area people join in, and we just talk about this kind of stuff. It's like, hey, what's going on in your life? And this is where guys can really let go and talk about it. It's a safe space, and you should see some of these macho guys that have joined and have never shared in their life. And it's like, dude, if I can do it, you can do it. So here, what's going on? Tell me. You can't surprise me with anything. I've been through it. So let's go. Right? And so I do locker talk, and there's like, right, and it's Lim-Loss Fitness is part of that too. It's like coaching, not just fitness, but it's like life coaching, right? Let's talk about what's going on, and I'm going to tell you what you can do, not only fitness, but like in everyday life. To let's do push-ups in the morning, right? Let's drink water. Let's do all those little things too, right? There's so many things you can do to better yourself, and they're just little things that are you think are nothing, but there's something, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. If anybody watching this can reach out, if you're going through anything in your life, reach out to me. I'll point you in the right direction, or I'll give you some advice. I'm not a doctor. I have no credentials, but I've been through it, and I think that's more valuable sometimes than something you can do.
Yeah. And where can people, Michael? Where can people reach you?
My main thing is Instagram, Firefighter Amp, at Firefighter Amp. Michael Laughlin on Facebook. You can go to www.limlossfitness.com, as well as www.untap60.com.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Michael, thank you so much today, man.
Thank you.
Powerful message, powerful story. Keep living life. Keep touching lives, one life at a time. You're doing it, and you're an inspiration to so many. Thanks for being on Dual Coast today, man. We really appreciate it.
Really appreciate your time.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Take care, man. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Dan?
Listening, guys, please check us out on all our social media handles, Dual Coast Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, and then listen to us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. Thank you so much for listening this morning. Michael Laughlin, thank you so much for being here with us. Mike, thank you again. Russ, checking out. See you next week.
See you guys.